All right, let's get into real estate. Let's talk about this here. So what we got going on, yesterday I talked about interest rates and they were sitting around 6.75, higher than they have been in a long time. Yeah, I know, I'm laughing as well. I mean, I probably went on for about 10 minutes about a camera that nobody could hear. It's so good. But yeah, so interest rates, yeah, are a little bit on the higher side, but still we're historically kind of in the average. But it did come down just a little bit. So if you look at this, let me zoom back out a little bit. When you look at this, right now, the 30-year fixed rate is sitting right at 6.7. It was 6.75. So it did come down just a little bit. Nothing drastic. That means the 30-year FHA and VA is 6.25. So interest rates are still a little bit high. And we'll get into this here in a little bit later, is talking about like where the economists are kind of predicting where it might land. And on an average, and they predict probably around 6.3 as an average for the year. And they're still kind of holding to that, even though we have this increase right now because of the, kind of the Iranian war type stuff. So we'll see what happens, but that's where they're holding. But right now, 6.7, just so you guys know. All right. With that being said, let's jump into the actual content of the show. I'll give you an idea since I was muted about what is coming, and then we'll get started with the show. So I am going to be discussing what the new housing law means for real estate. And the new housing law I'm talking about is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to get into a conversation. I try to avoid this, but it's all over the news right now, that Compass files an ethics complaint with dozens of MLSs and realtor associations across 26 states. We're going to mention that and talk about that. Then we're going to get into real estate giant updates, mortgage rate, home price predictions. The mid-year housing forecast from Realtor.com holds surprising implications for 2026 buyers. We're going to be breaking down kind of what economists are thinking and saying about this real estate market that we see in 2026 and where we might be heading. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, we're going to talk about the article that Yahoo Finance will typically run. It'll say, will the housing market crash in 2026? Here's what experts are saying. So this will be a conversation just kind of talking through what the economists are seeing and if there are any indicators that would hint at a crash is coming. Okay, so that's the scenario. That's what we're going to be talking about today. With all that being said, let's jump into the actual part of the show. Now that my audio is working, everything's good, I think we're good to go. Welcome to the Real Estate Brief. I'm Adam. Today, we're going to be cutting through the noise. We're going to get to the truth in the news, look at the data, and I'm going to give you some of my observations and where I believe you can find opportunity. If you're ready to gain your real estate edge, let's dive into our first story. And this story is being circulated everywhere. My agents are calling me about it and texting me about it. I'm getting emails about it. We're seeing news articles all over the place about it. Every news agency is reporting on it. And the title is going to be under what the new housing law means for real estate, right? The 21st Century Road to Housing Act, more specifically, is what it's called. So what does it mean? Well, there's a lot in here. Let me just say this. There are two extreme camps, and I say extreme camps because there are polar opposite sides. One side is going to say, this is a big nothing burger. It's pointless. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to do anything. The other one is heralding it as the greatest thing that's ever happened in real estate since the 90s. And so you got both ends of the spectrum here. Guess where I land? Right smack dab in the middle. It's needed. It's important. They address a lot of different things. It's going to help things for the long term. Okay, that's where I'm going to land. That's my summary of the whole thing. There is a lot in this bill, and there's going to be a lot to kind of unpack. And more than likely, I'll probably be doing a series on each item, maybe in a YouTube type short format, talking about each one and kind of go through it that way. The important thing to keep in mind here is, as real estate agents, we owe it to our clients to kind of understand what is all in this bill. They are asking a lot of questions about it. They're asking, what is it actually going to change? How's it going to help? Those type of questions. So we need to take some time and dissect this bill, because on the extreme side where they say it's the best thing that's ever happened since the 90s, they're not entirely wrong when it comes to housing reform. This is the first major housing bill like this since, I think, 1997. And it's got a lot in there. So with all that being said, let's talk about this. Allie, the artist, Mr. Dunham, 5x5? I don't know what that means. Elaborate. Let me know what that means. 5x5. What are we talking about, gang? We are talking about the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the bill that was just passed. Even though Trump did not sign it, it went into law anyway. He did not veto it. So that's what we're talking about, Allie. So, all right, very good. Let's get into this actual article and kind of talk and break this thing down. Congress passed the biggest housing bill in a generation, and no one signed it. Oh, thank you. Hey, you know what? I learned a new term. Mr. Dunham says, good morning, 5x5 means good picture and sound. Man, I'm glad that's excellent. Thank you for that. I love investing. Invested. I'm invested. Locked in, invested. You guys are using terms. See, this is I think I'm showing my age. I gotta be honest. I'm showing my age today. Like technology problems, not understanding lingo. This is great. Look, my goal is to kind of help you guys, and you guys are helping me. This is beautiful. Low key invested. All right, there we go. Thanks, guys. This is great. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act became law at midnight Saturday without a signature from President Donald Trump, who let a 10-day constitutional deadline expire in protest of unrelated voting legislation stalled in the Senate, according to NPR. It is an unusual way for a law this size to take effect. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act is the broadest federal housing package since the Granston-Gonzalez National Affordable Housing Act of 1990. So it wasn't 97, it was 1990. I knew it was in the 90s. I couldn't remember when, though. According to the New York Times, and it touches nearly every corner of the housing market, from institutional investors to manufactured home builders to local zoning boards. And this is why the people on the other extreme are saying it is the best thing that's ever happened to us since the 90s, right? Because they're right in a lot of ways. They're right in so many ways. And the other side of the aisle saying that it's just a nothing burger has some truth to it too, because it's not that it's a nothing burger, it's just going to take time for these things to come into effect. And we needed to address them, so they've addressed them. And the odd part about this that they're kind of alluding to here is that it wasn't signed because it was such an overwhelming bipartisan vote that passed this, saying that most presidents would have just signed it anyway because it was also a win for their party. And the Republicans have heralded this as a win. But Trump did not sign it. He was kind of protesting a little bit because there was a bill that he was wanting to get passed that would have helped voter ID laws and things like that. And that's wasn't passed. So he didn't sign it, but he didn't veto it. So he played a little bit of a political game. Allie, the artist, what would you do if you were a president? What would I have done? I would have signed the bill. I mean, I understand his, if you want to try to do something and do some, posturing or some kind of, I understand the strategy of politics, and they play games all the time. There's a strategy there, and Trump's not going to be getting reelected. So in some ways he can do whatever he wants as far as that goes. And to be honest, it didn't really matter if he signed it or not, because it had a way forward even if he didn't sign it. And he knew that. So I just don't think he just played a game. That's what he did. He played a game. Will this allow starter homes again? So, Mr. Dunn, that's a very good question. It addresses that in many, many different ways as far as like what can come out of this in regards to building homes. And a lot of has to like with the deregulation of zoning, there is incentives for people to start building again. And it's really more or less, if I had to really put a term on what their overall goal was with this, is to basically help the affordability of the housing industry as a whole. And I think it's just going to have a bunch of different outcomes where it will help with the starter home situation. Trump is a really smart president, but I don't know if his tweets are so smart. Yeah, you're getting into a divided conversation there. The tweets, whoo, boy, they can be rough. But I would say I think he does kind of know what he's doing there too. Like I think he understands like the nature of just creating a big blow up and do crazy stuff, and then kind of find out where the dust settles and try to figure it out from there. I think I'm not in support of his tweets at all, by the way. He's a strategist. Most politicians are. Everything they do has a strategic point to it. Even how they posture themselves about caring for everybody. And I'm not talking about just Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about in general, like where they want you to believe that they just have your best interest. Well, Not entirely wrong, but it's also not entirely true. They really care more about just getting elected. Funny trails. How the bill became law without a signature. Both chambers of Congress passed the bill in June with broad bipartisan support, and House Speaker Mike Johnson sent it to the White House on June 29th. Sorry, getting a call. On June 29th, starting the 10-day clock, the Constitution gives a president to sign or veto legislation. Trump did neither. Instead, he attempted to use the housing bill as leverage. Friday on Truth Social, he wrote that he would not sign the bill in protest of the Senate's failure to pass the Save America Act, a voter identification measure with no relationship to housing policy. Without a signature or a veto, the bill became law on its own at midnight. Buffered for a bit, sometimes restarting the modem helps if you keep having trouble. Hey, thanks for the advice, Mr. Dunham. Yeah, that's a good point. And, matter of fact, it's probably been a while since I've restarted my computer and the modem. So it probably is a good time to do that. Great, thank you. What the law does. The legislation bundles more than 80 provisions covering housing supply, financial, and oversight, according to NPR. A few provisions stand out for the real estate industry. So here's the thing, guys, and I mentioned this yesterday, is if you want to kind of dissect this bill, you can. You can go on to the House's website, download the bill itself. And what I will sometimes do, and this is where the best use case for AI is you can take that PDF, upload it to your favorite AI model, if it's ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, and just say, hey, can you summarize this bill for me? Can you give me the key aspects of what it's addressing, those type of things? And it will help you kind of pull that information out. But there is 40 separate provisions. Now, when you go through this bill, they do have it categorized pretty well in those 40 points. So you can go through these and kind of see what those are. Now, this article is going to be focusing on the ones that really probably have the most significance of making major changes. The rest of them tend to probably take way more time. So what this article is going to talk about is more of the more noticeable things that we probably will see in the shorter time frame, which again could be still a year, 2-3 years out. All right, here we go. For the first time, the law limits how many single-family homes large institutional investors can buy. Investors who own 350 or more single-family homes are barred from buying additional ones, with exceptions carved out for certain build-to-rent projects, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. The provision addresses a popular target can be concentrated in small local metro areas where these investors are going in and buying up swath of investment properties, thereby eliminating the potential for the everyday consumer to buy those homes and, in essence, driving prices up or controlling what that real estate market looks like in those areas. So I side on this needed to be addressed. There needs to be some kind of limit that keeps these investors from going in and buying up all these homes. So I think it's good. Mr. Hanson, well, thank you. Thank you for that. Mr. Hanson, I have a question. Will the political situation in the USA affect the whole world or just them? Well, that's a great question. You know, the reality is the American economy can have major effects around the world. When American economy is doing well, we are doing way more importing than exporting. We are definitely consumers of other countries' products and things like that. So when our economy is doing well and things are moving pretty well there, it tends to have an effect around the world. China benefits directly from that, and everyone else does too. So I would say anytime they're addressing anything in regards to our economy, it can strengthen the world economy as well. That would be my assumption. There's obviously, if you zone in and do different, observations in different categories, that might not be true. But in general, we are big consumers of products. Big consumers of products. Appreciate the compliment too. Thank you. Manufactured housing gets a boost too. The law removes the long-standing federal requirement that manufactured homes sit on a permanent steel chassis, a rule that made those homes harder to finance and build. Housing policy experts say the change could cut construction costs by $5,000 to $10,000 per home. This is the one that pretty much, the couple articles that I've read, this is the one that we're going to probably see the most change from in the really close time frame here, because when you remove that law and you change this requirement, it becomes a whole lot easier for the manufacturers of these modular homes to put them and manufacture them and get them on site, and it also makes it easier for them to be financed. So this is something you could see change almost immediately as far as the manufactured home goes. So this will be interesting to see. I think that's the one that we're going to notice the most difference in. On the local level, a new $200 million annual grant program will reward cities and counties that streamline permitting and zoning rules, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. The law also expands a categorical exclusions from environmental review for smaller infill projects, cutting one of the slower steps in getting new housing built. Now, this is the one that will be more of the long-term play and see what happens here. On this one, you don't really know what's going to happen, because even though they're dangling the $200 million kind of grant in front of all these cities and municipalities and things like that to have access to some money for their infrastructure and their cities, the reality is you have these city and these boards and these counties and these states that have people that vote on this. And there's going to be, difference in opinions in regards to zoning, especially. You have two sides of the coin on zoning. You have the side that's going to say zoning is the most important thing we can do, and we're going to protect it at all costs. And then you have the other one that kind of says, look, zoning is good, but it needs to be adjusted a little bit. There's way too much red tape to get through things. I would tend to fall more on the side, and this will be more based on your local area, but I would tend to fall more side on the side of the local where zoning is a little bit too difficult to kind of address. And a perfect case point in this is like you're starting to see like old malls be converted into condos, things like that. What is zoning? Is it a game term? Zoning, what zoning is basically cities and counties can set up certain zones inside of their city structure that they can allocate for specific use case. So you might have a zone for industrial use. You might have a zone for just residential. You'll have a zone for commercial. And when it comes to real estate and what can be built there or what the use case of that land can be used for would have to fall into that criteria. So I couldn't go in and buy a commercially zoned property and then put my personal home there. So the idea behind zoning is to be able to protect areas that would then help maximize the real estate of that profit. Because if I built my home in a area and then all around me was commercial, then it would inadvertently affect the value of my house because I've got a bunch of industrial buildings all around my property. So it's a way to kind of protect your own investment and also the development of whatever the my live stream is like. I just got a notification that it's my internet speed right now, guys. Like it looks like there's something going on. There's a lot of construction kind of near my home, so I have a feeling it has to do with the internet itself. So thanks for letting me know though. But that's in essence, that is what zoning is. That is what zoning is. So we'll see what happens. This could, you're welcome. You're welcome. This could, in essence, help a lot of that. Because if you incentivize a city to break down some of those zoning regulations, it could open the door for more development. And really, it's not about just removing zoning. It's about redefining zoning areas and revisiting them. A lot of cities just have never revisited what their zoning ordinances look like. And so this is an incentive for them to do so, and then also help the housing industry to kind of recover and look at best use cases for maybe old abandoned buildings. Like you find this all the time in downtown areas where like there's an old abandoned, commercial building. Maybe it's an old town square and it could be turned into a nice residential apartment building or, condo or even a house. And you can't because it's zoned wrong. So this just opens the door to be able to do that and gives some money back to those cities to do so. The second one here on this is the environmental review. So there's always been like this huge amount of red tape that you had to submit to the federal level to get approval for environmental. Even if there's nothing really wrong environmentally about doing the project you're going to do, you still had to submit and then wait for the approval. So what they're doing is they're pretty much cutting through some of that and removing some of those guardrails and those barriers that made it very, very difficult. Therefore, streamlining the ability to be able to build. Okay, so again, that's a long-term play. We'll see how this pans out. I don't know how that's going to come about. Anytime there's a big bill passed like this, you then start having legislation built up on top of that law to kind of define its terms. And that's where we're going to be at. We still got a lot of legislation to do. Like, how do you streamline environmental? Ali the artist just followed. Thank you, Ali, for the follow. Appreciate that greatly. To be honest, Ali says, to be honest, I think they should open more femboy bars because it's good for the economy. I don't even know what that is. Oh, the lingos. Elaborate what that is. I don't know what that is. That's good, though. Lenders will feel the law, too. It raises FHA multifamily loan limits for the first time in more than 2 decades and directs the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to study small dollar mortgages under $100,000. It also raises the cap on public welfare investments and community developments by banks, including affordable housing, from 15% to 20%, freeing up more capital for those projects. There's a lot kind of in this. Lenders will feel that too. FHA is raising that. So that limit being raised is obviously going to increase the amount of people that can qualify for an FHA loan. Like if we go back to like the Mortgage News Daily, right? Like look at this. All right. So if you're doing a 30-year fixed rate, you're at 6.7. If you get a FHA, you're at 6.25. Now there's still criteria that you had to qualify for that. There, most of the time there's still PMI and saying that things like you have to pay. There is a lot of things that still a conventional is a better idea, but an FHA will tend to have a much lower interest rate. So that can help. So by doing that, you can spur more people that could not normally buy to be able to buy. Femboy means advanced political scholars. So it's like bars for teaching. Oh yeah. Okay. I got you. No, I knew. Oh yeah. I knew that. Okay. Yes. Got the term. Thank you for clarifying that. Greatly appreciate that. So that's a big change there. But the really big one here that I think will have much better effect long-term is in regards to this right here. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to study small dollar mortgages under $100,000. So right now, like to get a loan under $100,000 for some kind of home, it's kind of a little bit difficult to do that. So I don't know how this is going to pan out. Again, this is one of those kind of elusive things. Like, what does this actually mean? How are they going to revisit this? But the fact there's some intentionality behind realizing that there is a problem with getting loans under $100,000 and banks don't really want to do that to address this. And then from the federal side, figuring out a way to help banks do so and spurring them along, I think that's a good thing. I just don't know how it's going to play out yet. All right. Farther down the bill, disaster recovery and rural housing programs get a permanent home. The law permanently authorizes HUD's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and updates several USDA rural housing programs, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. There's all kinds of things in there in regards to cutting through red tape. If there is like a natural disaster or there's some recovery that needs to happen from the federal side, we've had a lot of natural disasters happen across many states. Like if you go back, what was it? Flooding that happened in North Carolina and things like that. It was just really, really bad. This streamlines a lot of that and also helps federal government to step in and be able to do some things. Hey, Dominio, good morning. Less zoning. Woohoo. Yeah, that's right. We kind of need that, don't we? Glad you're here. Glad you made it. You've missed all the tech glitches we've had today, by the way. I talked for a good 20 minutes about, or maybe 10 minutes about cameras and stuff like that. Audio wasn't on. I mean, it was on, but it wasn't working. I had to reset everything. But welcome. Glad you're here. None of this comes with new money attached. The law does not appropriate additional federal funding for any of these programs, according to the bill text. What the law does not do, the bill leaves the biggest lever on housing supply untouched, local zoning. Now, here, this is a contentious item because when this bill, if you go back and look at the history of this, and this goes back to the zoning thing, when you go back to the whole zoning thing, there was a lot of pushback against zoning being in a federal bill. There was verbiage in there that was taking a lot of the kind of control for local areas to assign zoning and put it more into the federal level. So that had to be revisited. And so that's what this kind of did. It kind of backtracked a little bit on that. And to be honest, there's a little bit of importance to that. You really probably should have done that because it does need to be left local and not so much on the federal side. You risk the federal government coming in and saying what needs to be done in certain local areas. And how does the federal government know what's best use case for that area other than the city? That's why we elect city officials. That's why we elect county representatives, state legislators, those type of things. That still kind of needs to stay that way. This article goes on to say that cities and counties still control what gets built where, and the federal law does not change that. Mortgage rates are also outside the bill's reach. It can't address those things, right? A 30-year fixed loan was running near 6.5% as of early July, and nothing in the legislation touches the Federal Reserve's rate policy. Let me just say this is right now, guys, you can go back and watch. I did an entire video on the Federal Reserve and how them setting certain rates affect the economy as a whole. It was a deep dive breakdown about how that works. There is a beautiful thing in the way that our Federal Reserve works to set rates where it cannot be touched by Congress and any other entity outside of itself to be able to adjust those type of things. It is unlike anything else in the world. And it is something that is so unique. It's not perfect. It has definitely got its flaws. It's man navigating things. But the way it's structured, this bill, if this bill was to go into addressing Federal Reserve and how they set rates, that could be a very slippery slope, because now you put it in the hands of presidents and Congress and those type of things. And that's where things really go south, because let's be honest, the economy is ran by money. And that Fed rate and stuff is all about money. So with it being its own isolated thing that requires multiple reviews, multiple people to see it, multiple people to vote on it, is one of the best things in the world as far as managing money. It's not perfect, guys. I'm not saying that, but it is something that is very impressive. Very, very impressive. Allie, can someone buy property in the United States while being outside the country? Yeah, they can. Yep, absolutely. They can definitely do that. I like how passionate you are with politics like me, but you need to appeal for the younger gen. Yeah, well, that's true. I will say I agree with that. I think there is a lost desire in the younger generation to be involved in politics. Guys, it is very important. That's a great point, Allie. We live in a country, especially in America, where we have a vote, we have an opinion, we can lobby, we can talk freely, we can discuss all these things. And the younger generation, you guys are missing a great opportunity for civil discourse. And it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you land on, but to be able to come together in this country with freedom, to be able to talk about what you believe and discuss those type of things, it is a beautiful thing that you do not want to lose. So great point. Yes, younger generation out there listening, please be active. Please pay attention and be informed. It is so important. Excellent point, Allie. Excellent point. Even the supply side provisions will take time to show up in listings. Sorry. Sarah Brundage, president of the National Association of Affordable Housing Lenders, said any effect on housing supply will take years to materialize, since a single development can take longer to complete than an elected official's term in office, according to NPR. And this is true. This is where this is going to be able to go. It's just going to take a lot of time to kind of see the effects of this. You know, we saw the effects of the one that was passed in the 90s. It took a long time to get there. This one's going to take the same amount of time. Allie says, Iraq is a democracy, but it's not so freedom of speech. Very true. That's right. That freedom of speech is a crucial thing. We can't lose that. If we lose freedom of speech, we've lost everything. It could be a democracy all day long, but if you can't speak about it, you can't have civil discourse, it's not so much a democracy anymore. So you got to be able to talk about things. We got to be able to disagree as Americans. We might not agree with everything, but we got to be able to talk about it. Some of us might get arrested if we talked ill about a certain someone. Man, see, that's heart-wrenching, guys. I'm sorry. Is that where you live, Allie? Let me know. Or do you know people that live there, or where you from? But yeah, that's a shame. It's a shame that, that can happen, and it happens all around the world. And you're touching on a very sensitive thing that here in America, and I'll pause for a second, that yes, I live in the capital, Baghdad. Allie, wow. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in and having a conversation with me. Allie brings up just a great point for you guys listening, is you guys live in a country in America where you have freedom of speech. Look what Allie's saying. She lives in Iraq, does not have freedom to speak, but is in a democracy. But yet we have this. Don't take it for granted. If you travel around the world, you'll see what America has. And yeah, we are not perfect by any means. We should never take that kind of position whatsoever. But there are many things in America that we should really hold dear. And one of the biggest ones is freedom of speech. It doesn't mean we agree. It means we are okay with disagreeing. We're okay with having civil discourse. We're okay with working through things. And it is a beautiful thing that we should cherish. Allie says, I'm planning to migrate to Germany. Very good. Very good. I've not been to Germany. I was just in France. We went to France and then to Switzerland and stuff. So, and then we went into Asia for a little bit. But yeah, I just did that a few weeks ago. So thank you for being here. Seriously. Thank you for being here and sharing. Great conversation. And this is all a reminder for all of us. We're talking about politics, but Allie's bringing up excellent points. Home prices reflect why the pressure to act build up in the first place. The median existing home sold for $440,600 in June. Not everyone is convinced the bill will help. The Wall Street Journal editorial board panned an earlier version of the legislation in an opinion piece titled A Bipartisan Housing Fiasco, writing that the House bill would raise costs and give more power to regulators. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, cute. I appreciate that. Thanks for the compliment. So yeah, I just don't agree with that sentiment. I'm sorry, Wall Street Journal. This is where the civil discourse kind of comes in. That's just the truth. Yeah, raise costs and give more power to regulators. I think you're falling in the trap that it's like, well, if it doesn't do enough or doesn't do anything immediately, we shouldn't do it at all. And it's like, look, you have to do something, okay? You have to move forward. You have to make things happen. And every time there's a bill passed, not everything gets fixed, and sometimes things get messed up. But it's still progress nonetheless. You still have to address certain things. And there's a lot in the housing industry that need to be addressed. What this bill, in a nutshell, is trying to do is address housing affordability and the development of residential properties in America, okay? Could things go, weird sometimes? A housing fiasco? That's a headline editorial trying to sell ads, guys. I'm sorry. Housing fiasco, again, it's just, this is addressing simple reform. That's about it. There's nothing drastic in this. It's not like it's changing everything about real estate. So anyway, I would disagree. Dominio, looks like rates are going up. Yeah, they kind of are. They are going up just a little bit. Unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate. But it's in regards to, kind of the looming Iranian war, if you want to call it that, whatever, this issue we've got going on with them. It's driving our oil prices up, but then the Fed adjusts things accordingly, and that just trickles out across the economy. We will see. We shall see what happens. Guys, I went through that article. That was a lot. That took a lot of time. And so I'm not going to have a lot of time to go through a lot more. So I'm going to skip forward just a little bit. Dominio, listen to Dave Asbury's podcast with Dr. Peter McCullough about COVID policy. You'll feel a lot less free and a lot more worried about where the free speech is going. I'm worried we'll lose it someday. Let me just highlight this so everybody can kind of see that on screen. Sorry, TikTok, I can't. I don't think I can highlight. Yeah, I don't know how to do that on there. But yeah, guys, go check that out and listen to that. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard Dave Asbury. It sounds familiar though. Maybe I have actually listened to a podcast. But yeah, man, I'm telling you right now, guys, I don't care what side of the political aisle you land on. You better protect freedom of speech. You better not lose it. I'm telling you right now, that will be the end. That'll be the end. Yep. I would worry that we would lose that too. Like, that would be a very dangerous thing and very sad. It'd be a very, very sad thing. All right, I'm not going to read about Compass and stuff because I'm so done with that. All that ethical stuff and private listings and things like that. It's relevant for our industry, but I'm going to push that to another day. I'm going to jump straight to, since we've talked about all this economy stuff, I know it might be a little bit more boring to kind of jump into some of the more kind of trends in the economy, what we got going on and what's coming, but I think it's going to piggyback off of what we're talking about right now to make more sense. Allie, they should let a femboy become the future president. There you go. That's great. Okay, this article here is going to come from The Street. I think The Street is actually owned by Zillow, just FYI. Not that it matters. This is Laura Grace Tarpley wrote this. And I'm sorry, one thing I cannot stand about The Street, and guys, if you ever listen to my stuff, which I doubt you will, can you remove the pop-up ads for crying out loud? I mean, good night. I'll scroll down and more will pop up. I mean, there's moving ads and everything. It's just like over the top. But sometimes they write good stuff, so I have to like visit it. Let me see if I can format this a little bit better to get this a little bit bigger. Okay, that's a little better, I think. Okay. All right, so the title of this, Real Estate Giant Updates Mortgage Rate, Home Price Predictions. The mid-year housing forecast from Realtor.com holds surprising implications for 2026 buyers. So this is going to talk about the economy in general. So let's get into this. High mortgage rates and housing prices are two main reasons Americans are struggling to afford homes in 2026. This is so true. We all know this. This is not even a hard reach at all. I mean, we kind of understand that this is exactly what's going on. Mortgage rates being where they are, the pricing being where it's at, there is that gap. There's affordability gap there. When the interest rates do go up, it costs more to buy a home. But that's only one side of the coin. We talk about this all the time. If all you're doing is focusing on that one aspect, you're missing the whole big picture of what real estate can actually do for you. But that's a whole nother topic. We'll continue on. I regress. Freddie Mac mortgage rates have hovered around 6.5 for 8 weeks. Housing prices hit an all-time high in June, according to a Redfin report. It says, since it's an immigrant country, I think I could boost the economy well. There you go. Yeah, it's true. Come on, Al. Come to the States. Come to the States and buy a house. Why Germany? Maybe you got family there. Real estate experts track and predict various U.S. housing market data, but it makes sense that the typical home buyer would care the most about these two factors. I'm broke. Ali says, I'm broke. Well, that's a big factor. Oh, goodness. Also, the Iraqi passports is weak. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's unfortunate, though. So unfortunate. Realtor.com, a leading real estate platform, releases an annual housing market forecast every 6 months. On July 8th, the company published its predictions for the rest of 2026. I kind of briefly summarized this article a while ago, but let's just see what the street has to say. It says, I'll break down the specifics, but I was surprised by the Realtor.com 2026 housing forecast mid-year's updates overall message. Okay, so the overall message of Realtor.com, this was true. It actually began with a title like this. It said, affordability for home buyers is improving, and the company expects that trend to continue. It says, quote, the housing market is inching forward as sellers reset expectations, price growth cools, and buyers gain more negotiating power. This is dependent upon the market that you're in, guys. Like, anytime you hear a blanketed statement like that, Realtor.com, NAR, all of them are looking at this as a broad picture. This is not just saying in your local area. Real estate is way more local. So you might read that and be like, well, it's not happening. I don't see that. Well, maybe it's not in your area, right? They're making a national observation. And if you were to look at it nationally, here's what you're seeing. You're seeing an increase of inflation down a little bit. I mean, it used to be, I think, like 3.5% last year. It's down to 1.2. So home price growth has slowed. It's not tanked. It's not come way down, but it has slowed. And then also home income has went up. Nothing drastic, but it has went up a little bit. These kind of adjustments does make the negotiating power and those type of things tilt just a little bit more in favor of the buyer. I'm going to come and steal the president job and become the new president, Ali says. There you go. Let's go for it. Let's go. Run. That's a beautiful thing, right? You can run. Become a citizen and run for president. Realtor.com keeps its mortgage rate prediction flat. In the original Realtor.com 2026 housing forecast published in December 2025, the company predicted that both the annual average and year-end 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate would be 6.3. The projection is unchanged in Realtor.com's mid-year report. Now, it is weird sitting here on this part as far as predictions go that they didn't change this at all. Mainly because like right now, especially we're sitting at 6.7 in the States, right? Yes, Realtor.com still projects that the 30-year rate will end 2026 at 6.3 and that 6.3 will be the annual average. There is a lot of variables inside of interest rates, guys. That could be the case. It could easily happen that way. But that depends on a lot of external circumstances that we might not necessarily have control of. So we shall see. We shall see. I pray we are in 6.3s, but we'll see what happens. I understand that this might seem like bad news to home buyers. How is a stagnant mortgage rate prediction supposed to help with housing affordability? Very good question. Ali says, I think they should lower the housing prices more because even though the wages are higher, the money worth less due to inflation. Great observation. It's very true. And it's, if you could control direct housing prices, that would be great. I will say, typically, just for everybody out there, because Ali is bringing up some good points, is one of the things that the Fed usually watches as far as adjusting rates is the inflation percentage. and anything under 2%, they will typically begin lowering the Fed rate. The Fed rate. Sometimes that affects mortgage rate. Depends. But again, you can go back and watch my whole Fed breakdown of that, about how that works. But the reality is, though, is under 2%, you have a tendency for those numbers to go down. The reason why we're not seeing that right now is due to the actual pressure from oil prices and gas and everything else, and that trickles out across the board. So we're sitting a little bit higher right now. So that's probably why Realtor.com is kind of resting in that prediction. First of all, Realtor.com notes in its report that while the Iran war has kept mortgage rates in the mid 6.5 range, rates are still better than in 2025. It's true, and this is observation. It's true. As of July 9th, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate was 23 basis points lower this time than last year, according to Freddie Mac. The rate held at 6.5% or higher through the rest of summer 2025, then started to decrease in September. Then rates stayed in the 6.3 range through mid-October. So there's definitely reason to believe that although we'd all love for mortgage loan rates to be lower, they could help make homes more affordable in 26 than 2025. Okay, so that's the observation. That's the opinion. Remember, we're talking about predictions. We're talking about predictions. And we can go back to this graph right here. Like we can go back to here and kind of look at 2025. Let's see if we go back to, where is it at? It's hard to see. Right in there. So see that right there? Look. 30-year fixed rate mortgage back in July of 2025 was hovering around 6.8. So perspective matters. So if we're sitting at 6.7 and we're at 6.8 back then, but then you look kind of where the average lands, that's why they're making that prediction. We can kind of see that. We can see that that is probably true. So the economists are looking at all this kind of stuff, and that's going to do it. The gas prices are going down here. Oh, Allie, and so Allie, just to catch everybody up, she lives in Iraq. I keep saying she. I'm assuming she. I'm sorry if I'm not. If I'm making that assumption wrong, I'm sorry. But the gas prices are going down here, so she's experiencing that. Dominio says early warning signs that we're going to have a stock market crash. IBM down 20% in one day. When the stock market collapse happens, we will have lower rates. Yeah, and that would be bad too, right? So I did read an article about that. I did see that. I'm a he. Allie is a man name. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I apologize. I am so sorry. In America, it can go either way. All right. So there's definitely reason to believe that although we'd love for mortgage rates to go down, it's also important to note that Realtor.com did not predict higher rates than in December. And when we combine this flat prediction with the company's other expectations, the message of improved affordability starts to make sense. Realtor.com expects even slower home price growth in 2026. In my years of covering the housing market, I've witnessed a discouraging trend for home buyers. In general, home values increase over time. Higher home values and sales prices feel great once you're a homeowner, but when you're buying, it's a frustrating truth. So it isn't at all surprising that Realtor.com projected higher median existing home price, both in its December and July reports. The company predicted that median prices would increase by 2.2% in its December report, but its mid-year update foresees prices rising by only 1.2% overall in 2026. So this is just that number. It's not crazy now, right? There's an inflation kind of going on, and that's what we're seeing. But there's an adjustment going on in prices. We're seeing that as well. We're seeing that adjustment take place. So, sellers are getting becoming more real with what the market is. They're beginning to understand that we can't be listing price at a certain point. We're also getting a lot more data to go from to price homes more correctly and, in the proper context of what the market is bringing. So that's helping as well. I'm running out of time, guys. I got to get ready for a meeting. I got to speed it up. Economic factors that could help with home affordability. May inflation grew by 4.2%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In April, it was up by 3.8%. Looking at the Consumer Price Index, one of the key measures of inflation, Realtor.com expects a median inflation growth of 3.5% in 2026. Meanwhile, it only expects home prices to rise by 1.2%. So that's where we're going to kind of land. Nothing too crazy going on. What I would just even say here, guys, is like as we read through this, and I'm out of time, sorry, is what I would say is when you start reading numbers like this, nothing's really kind of crazy off the charts. What we're looking at is more of a balancing of the market in general. is with the interest rates going higher, income slightly increasing, prices are beginning to adjust a little bit. There's a meeting of that happening. And with this reform and all this kind of stuff happening, the goal here is to bring balance back. And when you start looking at these numbers, that's kind of what you see. You kind of see a rebalancing of the market. You don't see anything going one way or the other too extreme. It's way more, just more balanced. Just some key takeaways outside of this article, just to kind of summarize this article, if you will, is mortgage rates are probably going to be holding pretty steady to what we're seeing right now. So if you've been waiting for, home loan rates and all that kind of stuff to drop before buying a house, the reality is we're probably not going to see a big downtick in that number. So that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Rates could even spike a little bit more before we kind of get through this, before they actually go back down to where we might be historically on average. Keep in mind that real estate is more about leveraging the asset itself long term. You can always refinance that home to a lower rate if it does go down. You can make improvements, right? It's an asset when you start putting things into the home to increase its value. So there's a little bit more control there. If you don't want to buy a house and you're renting, you're still buying a house, but you're buying it for somebody else. Keep that in mind. Now, we do know that history is kind of putting this current mortgage rate into perspective. With this national mortgage rate, it comes down to, if this is true, and it goes down to 6.3 as an average. When you look at the average between I don't know why my camera looks kind of washed out. Oh, that's weird. I moved that over to the other screen and it made my face bright. But whenever you start looking at like the average, if you go back into the 70s, okay, if you take the whole span of time, for the most people that are alive today, from like 1970 until now, the average rate would come out to be about 7.6. I think I ran the number 7.68, somewhere in there. So we're still on an average for those that are alive right now that it could still be very beneficial. Inventory. We need to talk about inventory. That's where we need to move in. We need more inventory. So if you want to see better balance in the market, we need more homes being built. We need more homes to choose from. Buyers need more options. That's what we need to see happening. It's going to be a slow change. Okay. That is it for today, guys. I am really out of time. Anyway, I do thank you guys for taking the time out of your schedule to be here. Just so you guys know, I will not be live streaming tomorrow. I have got to hit the road to an office. It's a little bit of a drive away from where I live, so I will be out of town tomorrow. Will not be able to live stream. So that means today is the last live stream for this week. I will be back Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know what time it is in Iraq, Allie. Let me know. Be curious to know what time it is there for you. Hey, Bobby. Bobby, you just got here. Good morning. Just got done working out. I have a blessed day. That's excellent, man. Hopefully you had a good, I'm assuming you're probably on a bike ride, I would guess, Bobby. Let me know. I think it's one of the two, bike or ran or something like that. But glad to have you, man. You can go back and watch live stream. It was a lot of talking about the market and the Housing Act, the new housing bill. So there's you an update. Both you did the biking and the running. Are you training for another triathlon? I think you are, right? Let me know. I think that's what you're doing. I've still not done one, man. Still have not done one. I really need to sign up. Very good. Yes. Okay. Awesome. How and sorry guys, how much farther out are you until you get to the next triathlon? Like what's your date here for your next one? Do you have one scheduled, or are you just kind of training to get ready for one you're thinking about? But yeah, guys, that's it. So I will be back Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, doing a live stream then, and we'll try to do Monday through Thursday next week. So excellent. October and maybe September. Okay, yes. Okay. Very good, man. So you got plenty of time to kind of get conditioned for that. I know we talked about this, that my hesitancy to ever do a triathlon is going to be all in regards to the swimming part. I can swim, but I just don't think I can swim that far. I just don't know. We have a lake in our town, and I used to swim that all the time, and just crossing the lake was like the most difficult thing. Bye, Allie. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the comments and stuff and the engagement. That was great. Very good. All right, guys, that is your real estate brief for today. If you found this helpful, please consider hitting the like button to tell YouTube you would like to see more of this type of content. Consider subscribing and follow me on TikTok to join a community of real estate agents that are focused on building a business that is relationship focused first. There was a lot more I was going to talk about. Ran out of time, guys, like always. You guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. We'll see you Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Guys, take care. All right, Bobby. Yeah, you can do anything. Don't talk yourself down. Man, you're right. You're right. You are right, Bobby. I shouldn't be negative. I think I could do it, but I am not going to lie. It scares the fire out of me, man. I just, like, hey, I know I got to go, but I'm just kind of curious. The show's over, guys. This is just hangout now. So Bobby and I are going to talk about triathlons. Bobby, if you got a chance. So walk me through this just as a concept in general, because my curiosity is walk me through, and this might help my confidence to do this. You might help me do this. Is on the swimming part. And when you do in your triathlons that you've been doing, like, are you out in like open water? Like, are you close to the beach? Like, where are you doing these swimming things at? I need to know what my security blanket is. Is there kayakers around me? Like, if I get a cramp, someone's gonna pull me out of the water. Can they resuscitate me if I start drowning? That kind of stuff, right? I need to know if I'm gonna die when I get out there. Let me know. You can do anything. Don't talk yourself out of it. Yeah. Guys, if you're just logging in, Bobby and I here, he's a triathlon runner and trainer, a triathlon athlete, triathlete, and he's going to teach me about swimming. So we've wrapped up the show. You can go back and watch that live on YouTube and stuff like that. But I'm waiting for Bobby to give me some advice about the swimming aspect of doing a triathlon. And if anybody else is out there has ever done one, let me know. Open water, and yes, kayaks all are okay. Open water, okay. Yeah, see, that's the part, man. Not gonna lie, that's the part that gets me. But kayaks being around is good. I mean, that would make me feel better. I mean, as long as somebody's like right beside me. Like, and how far do you swim when you're doing it? Like how far is I'm gonna try. Okay, so, man, like, have you done an Ironman? Have you done an Ironman yet? So a sprint distance is 500 to 800 meters, and then you bike 12 to 15 miles, and you run 2 mile to a 5K. So that's a sprint try. Olympic distance is 1 mile of a swim, 25, 30-minute bike, and then 6.2 miles. That's not bad. But now 1 mile swimming, is that true? And then half iron is 1.2 miles swimming, 56 miles biking. I could do that. And then basically run a half marathon. I could do that. I've done halves and fulls and things like that. I can do those. So I could do the biking and the running, the half Ironman. I could probably do that. Half Ironman, 1.2 miles swimming. And then Olympic distance is like 1 mile or maybe a little less. Bobby, I don't know, man. I could do the sprint for sure, but I would kill the biking and running part of it. The Ironman is almost 2.5 miles. And then biking over a century, 112 miles, and then running a marathon. Dude, how do you not die on an Ironman? I'm not gonna lie, that seems crazy. Oh, Dave Asbury is a biohacker and has a book called Headstrong about improving mitochondria function. Could give you a boost. Hey, okay. That's cool. Thank you for that. I'm going to write that down. I am going to go check out Dave Asbury. Biohacker. Sweet. Maybe that'll help me be crazy at triathlons. So, yeah, Bobby, I don't know if you're still here or not, but I don't know, man. I'll think about it. I'll think about swimming. I'll think about it. I'll ponder it. I definitely won't be doing an Ironman. To be honest, I think I would start maybe with the Olympic distance first. 1 mile, maybe 1 to less than a mile swimming, 25 to 30 miles biking, and then a 6.2 mile run, 10K. I think I could do both the biking and the running. The swimming thing, maybe. I just have to really take my time. All right. I got to go, guys. Great conversations. Really, really appreciate you all greatly for being here. Thank you. You guys have an amazing day, amazing week. We'll see you Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Guys, take care.